That's not what you are.
Not the same
That's
thing.
all.
So anyway,
in fact, you're like the opposite of a busybody. You're like, oh, drama over there, leave me the fuck out of it. I want nothing to do with it. Keep it away from me.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
how to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs Notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
So it was funny. As we were talking about the previous episode that we recorded, and you haven't gone and listened to it, I strongly recommend doing that, because I think that the two of these actually kind of, they're two sides of the same coin in a lot of respects. If you haven't listened to it, last episode, we talked about like how to be in creator mode, like when you're feeling stuck, when you don't know, like you feel stuck between two choices and you don't like those two choices, and coming up with different options and those sorts of things. And as we were talking about that, I had a moment where I was like, I think there might be a second episode of this, and Serena sort of groaned and rolled her eyes at me as if to say, what? Like, there's more? As is often the case when I go, I've had an idea, more content. And I was realizing that there are obviously, when you're in creator mode, it requires a certain amount of internal resources. It requires some energy and some brain power, if nothing else, to
a little bit of capacity.
Yeah, to think about like, what is my outcome, and what are the options, and which option aligns best with my needs right now, and what's the action I'm going to take on that, and then to take the action. So it does require a little bit of resource and capacity. And I realize that there's a lot of times in life where we don't have no capacity. Like
what are you talking about? Come on.
Where life be life in, and like we're hiding under the duvet going, God, I don't want to make one more decision. Like there's that. And it's like, and it suddenly recurred to me, like, there's a lot of things that, and I never really realized it until we started having the conversation about it. There's a lot of things that we do to enable us to still be in creator mode, even if we're low on capacity and we don't have the capacity to make choices in the way that we would if we did have capacity. And I can imagine people going, well, if you don't have the capacity to make choices, therefore you're not making choices, therefore, or if you don't have the capacity to get in creator mode, you're not in creator mode, therefore you're in the drama triangle. Not necessarily. Yes. If you are saying, if you've done no thought about this whatsoever, and you're just at that point where you're like, I don't have the capacity to make choices, I'm just not going to make them. I'm just going to rot in bed under the duvet with my snacks and the movie that I talked about in the last session. Then yeah, probably not necessarily in creator mode, unless you are saying, I am exhausted and I need to rest right now. And so I'm going to choose to do this because this is actually the best option to resource me so that I then have the capacity to make other choices going forward. So again, nuance. Just because you could be doing the same thing and be in creator mode or be in victim approach. Like you could be in victim approach of like, okay, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to make any choices. I'm just going to sit here and rot, and I'm going to choose.
Poor me, I can't do any of this stuff.
Or you can say, okay, I am choosing to stay here and rest and do something mindless because that's going to help me to replenish and to nourish myself so that I then have more capacity going forward.
It's funny because as you're giving this example, it just makes me smile because I'm like, I have always led a busy life. Like, I don't know what the definition of
Since when?
Shocker. Like, I don't feel like I'm a busybody. I don't know if that term actually means what I think it means in this context, but it doesn't.
No, busybody is normally when you're in everybody else's business and like gossiping about everybody and like.
That's not
what you are.
Not the same
That's
thing.
all.
So Anyway,
In fact, you're like the opposite of a busybody. You're like, oh, drama over there. Leave me the fuck out of it. I want nothing to do with it. Keep it away from me.
So
being busy.
Yeah, sorry. Daz is in the background and he's on boxes that are none of his business, and he was trying to balance on them, and he's an very typically orange cat, and I'm like, please don't hurt yourself, and he just kind of wobbled and then like dropped off, but he's okay. Like,
that's good.
Sorry, that it distracted me for a minute.
Momentary distraction, yes.
Yeah,
as orange cats do.
I feel like I am part orange cat quite often. Yeah, busybody.
You've always led a busy life.
Yep.
Resting in bed. How you approach resting in bed.
Yes. Like Claire said, doing the same thing but having a different motivation behind it it's like game changing, because there was so much shame in being like, I don't feel like I can, like, and going into that victim mode. I don't think I can move. I can't do that. Like, just all of these, like, and not from a physical, like, I was able to get up. I was able, like, I wasn't in a place where, like, I physically or mentally couldn't do it. It was just, I was in, a victim approach, and I was kind of, woe is me, and like, the light is too bright, and all of these things. And I would get like, or I'd just sleep in bed all day, and I'm like, I'd get out of bed and I'm like, well, look, you just wasted a whole day. And then there'd be the negative self-talk and all of this stuff. And then I can do the exact same thing. I can lay in bed all day, but lay in bed and be like, you know what, I'm going to choose just to rest today, because I don't feel like I want to do, or like, I don't feel like I can do these things. I know I could, and I just, I don't want to. And that means like, I just need to rest. I just need to be, and like, and that's good
that's
for
the
me,
important
and that's
thing
okay.
Is that when you're like mentally in that, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I can't do this, I can't do that, like, you're focused on what you don't want, versus when you kind of realize that coming up and you go, actually, I want to rest and I'm choosing to rest right now. That flipping that around and going, okay, this is a choice I'm making because it serves me to do so, and I know I'm going to be better off in terms of what I do after this or tomorrow if I actually do this today. You're doing the same act, but how you're doing that act is night and day when it comes to a needs meeting point of view.
Absolutely. And when you're going from the creator approach, in that you're also opening yourself up to possibility of different things. Like, I'm not going to I just want to lay in bed and let my body rest, but my body feels tight. I'm going to lay in bed and stretch a little bit. Like, I'm going to lay in bed and read a book. Like, maybe getting out of bed is the thing that, or not getting out of bed is the thing that I know will really resource me, but my brain doesn't want to sleep. So it's like, are there options so that like I'm, doing something while I'm in bed, if that's what is present or what my body needs? Because there's times my body needs to rest, but my brain's like, let's do some shit. Come on, let's go. And it doesn't have to look like I'm in bed, so I need to be resting. I need to be sleeping. My eyes need to be closed. It could be like, okay, actually I'm going to bring my computer into my bed today, because my brain, like, I want to do work and I've checked in with my body, but my body just doesn't want to be in like anywhere but bed. Does that like...
Right. Makes perfect sense. It's fine. A part of me was like, maybe I'll be in bed and read a book. I'm like, I know you well. I don't think that's an answer that ever comes out of your mouth.
No, that wasn't
bringing the laptop into bed, working from bed, or doing something in bed, or playing around with something that is not brainy.
It is an
absolutely.
Option. And I will, and it's funny because I'll give myself options like that. And that's the thing. I'll give myself options that aren't options that, like, I haven't read a book since... saying it out loud hits a lot differently. I haven't actually read a book since I met Claire. Like, like read a book. Like, I've read from books.
I read them and tell her all about them. So
I guess it just doesn't do it. Doesn't do it for me with my ADHD, with the newfound dyslexia. Like, there's certain things my brain just doesn't always work like that. But I give myself the option, because maybe one day it's like, actually, my friend showed me this font that's supposed to help with dyslexia. Let me look into that and see if that actually works. Has that day come yet? No. Will it? Who knows?
Maybe.
But it's an option,
Yes.
and I give myself that option to be like, this could be the possibility to, you know, open the door to potentially reading. But generally, if you hear me say it, lay in bed and read a book, like you might want to ask.
I was like, I have questions. Like, what was the book that was that compelling that you wanted to read it? Because if you want to read it, I want to read it too. So, anyway, so I think the thing about this is that, like, when we're in that place where we're low on capacity, and whether that's physical capacity, especially when it's mental capacity or emotional capacity, where it's like, I'm like, oh God, I don't have it in me to like make one more choice. A lot of the time, it's not really that we don't have the capacity to make the choice. It's I don't have the capacity to come up with the options that are going to get me to the choice that is best for where I'm at right now. And so one of the things that really helps with this, if you are somebody where you know you're going to go through these moments where I've got the hiccups, sorry. I'm like, so if you see me like pulling funny faces or like that's what's going on. But if you're someone where you know that you're probably going to have moments coming up where you are low on capacity, where you may not have the ability to come up with options in the way that you would like. One of the things that can make all the difference to this is when you do have the capacity, or when you have recently not had the capacity, do a little bit of the thinking then to set yourself up for the next time that you don't have capacity. So you're not coming up with options. You've just come up with the options prior to getting there. And then in that moment, you make the decision, you make the choice based on the options you've already given yourself, as opposed to, I'm not coming up with options. And so you're still in creator mode. It's just that you've prolonged the process a little bit more, in the sense that you did the thinking and the options prior, and in the moment where you're making the choice, that might happen at a different time. So let's give an example of this. So I am somebody who, a lot of the time, one of the things I hate doing is coming up with options of things to eat, especially when I'm low on capacity, because when I'm low on capacity, my ability / desire to make food disappears down the drain. Like, I have no idea where it goes, but it's nowhere to be found in those moments. So I want something that is quick. I want something that is low effort, and I want something that is tasty. However, if you know me, I also like to have options. I don't want to just have one thing that is available to me. I want to be able to choose, even if the choice is just between two things. It's like, which of these would I prefer more in that moment? So I have at all times in my like home stores, if you like, I have a number of different things that are going to be quick and easy go-to meals. I always have a mac and cheese in the cupboard. I always have, there is a,
you always have a mac and cheese in the cupboard?
Yeah, I always have mac and cheese in the cupboard.
You don't like mac and cheese?
I like mac and cheese, but I also have in the cupboard olives. I always have onions in the fridge. I always have like sun-dried tomatoes in, because I don't like mac and cheese on its own, but I like it if I add other shit to it.
Gotcha. Sorry, I was just like, wait a minute. Everything I knew about you, like melty cheese isn't your thing. We've had this conversation, haven't we?
Yes. I mean,
that
mac
makes
and cheese
sense.
is not my go-to, and
Gotcha.
It is an option that is available to me. I always have, no, you're right. I'm like, because mac and cheese on its own, I find is boring. I'm like, I want something more than just cheesy sauce and pasta. Like, that's boring to me. Like, in an ideal world, I would have it with a salad on the side. I don't always have salad in the house, but I will always have something that feels fresh with it. So I said, I'll always add olives to it. I like, my refrigerator is empty if I don't have red onions in it. Like, it's one of those things. Like, there are certain things in the refrigerator that they're not in there. My refrigerator is empty. It could be full of stuff, but my refrigerator is empty if I don't have red onions in. Like, there are certain, that's one of those certain things.
I was never like that. Mine's just onions in general. I always doesn't matter what we're out of, we always have an onion. And if we don't, I'm like, we got to go to the store. Like,
right.
And Claire kind of taught me that, which is just like, well, if you have an onion, you have so many other options. You can add it in raw. You can, saute it up. You can fry it up and add it in. I was like, oh, this makes it this makes it so simple. Like to just
Exactly.
like to have an onion gives me so many options.
Options. Yeah. I always have I have a jar of pre-chopped garlic because garlic is a faff at the best of times. If I'm low capacity, I do not want to be faffing around with fresh garlic. I love fresh garlic and I prefer fresh garlic. But I always have that in the refrigerator. I now always have lemons in the fridge as well. And I normally have limes as well, because those, again, are things that are, so I recently got this, found as I kind of go through life, I add to my recipes of those kind of quick, simple, but really flavorful things. Like I have some random things that are always in my refrigerator now. So there's I came up with a recipe, found a recipe a couple of months back for lemon miso pasta. Oh my God, it's so good. And it's so quick and easy to make. And all you need is onions and garlic, which I've just said I always have in the refrigerator, a lemon. So you zest of a lemon and juice of a lemon, and miso paste and nutritional yeast. Well, I always have, I'm vegan. Nutritional yeast, if you don't know and you're not vegan, nutritional yeast gives like a cheesy flavor to things without having to add cheese to it. So that's normally in most vegans kind of store cupboard stores. So that's one of those that it's delicious. It's really good. And I always have pasta in the cupboard. So like, that's another one of those. I suppose that's like it's like fancy mac and cheese for me in the sense that it's like cheesy sort of sauce with like other things in it. I always have frozen chicken in the chicken. I use like inverted commas because that's one of those I can cook it up in like about 6 or 7 minutes. Super quick, super easy. And there is a lady who comes down from Fort Lauderdale. If you're in Fort Lauderdale and you're in the market for some Indian food, go and see Samosa Mama. Their food is absolutely delicious. And they come down to our food market once a week, and they have these little frozen curries, and they have like frozen chapatis or rotis or parathas, and they have samosas. Funnily enough, given they're called Samosa Mama, they have the most incredible chutneys. Oh my God. I always have a thing of their chutney in the fridge. I always have some of their curries and some of their bread in the freezer, because that's one of the things, again, I can cook it from frozen. I always have ready-made rice in the cupboard. So I mean, I tend to have pretty well-stocked cupboards. Like it's something that I, especially after I did the whole boat trip thing, because when you go on a boat and you're about to go on like a 3-month trip to the middle of nowhere, you need to have resources. You need to have like a store of supplies. So I got the store of supplies and then didn't do the full trip. So I ended up having to store those supplies when I got back home. And so I tend to, at any point in time, I could easily off the top of my head make, I would say 6 or 7 quick and easy meals without too much effort, without too much thought, which means that in those moments where I don't have the capacity to think in the way that I would like to, if I don't have the capacity to come up with options, I already have the options available to me. I just have to choose which of those options resonates most with me for where I'm at in that particular point in time.
Well, we just had a bit of a technical difficulty. We don't know if you're going to be able to notice, or if Claire's editing skills are going to be able to just make it work. If I am still on video and you can see it, you can see the confusion. I did lose Claire for a hot second there, but
one of the issues with recording in two completely different, not just completely two different areas or two different houses, like two different states. Like we're on the same time zone now, which is good. Like that's different to how it has helpful. Been. So we're definitely in the right direction. But yeah, every now and again there are, especially because it's storm season down here as well. So any moment you could lose some power, you could lose some internet. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? So the joys of podcasting.
If you see me talking and there's no sound, that is purposeful at that point, because it means I was like, what the fucking, while Claire is trying to finish her story. So like, we just wanted to let you know, because we don't know what's going to happen.
So I was just talking about the fact that I have all these kind of different, I always have a number of different options that I've previously curated and given myself ahead of time so that when I don't have capacity, I just have to choose between those options. I've done the hard work of coming up with the options ahead of time. I've done the hard work of making sure I have the things for those options in. And then all I got to do is make the choice that feels most resonant with where I'm at that point in time.
I have that. And I have some standards. Like we've talked before kind of about this, but there are certain things that are kind of go-to things. And like
when
with
you
my
said I have standards, it's like I thought you meant I was like, I've got standards when it comes to my food. I'm not just gonna that's how it sounded for a second. That's not what Serena meant. She meant standard things that she has.
Hold that thought as I get to my rice cakes, because like that's where I was going with this. Like breakfast has always been something, like I'm one of those people, like I am a much more productive, happier, fulfilled, probably more pleasant person when I've eaten breakfast in the morning. I mean, it just, I'm one of those people. I need that. I do believe that is a good foundation for people to have. And it's sometimes hard, especially like if you've woken up late, or like sometimes I wake up and I just don't want to, like I just like I wake up and I'm like, what day, like are we in like 2025? Like I had no clue what's going on, but knowing,
and also
and then
being being perimenopausal queens, we both know, like, I mean, always have in the back of my mind that from a hormonal standpoint, it's better like if you're in this phase in your life, I mean, I don't know about other phases, it may be true with that as well, that for you to eat within 2 hours of waking up. So like the second I realize what time I've woken up, there's that immediate stopwatch that starts in my brain of like, I really have 2 hours to get myself to the point where I'm eating something, because I know that's going to support me better with, it's going to meet my needs better for where I'm at this point in my life.
So like one of my go-tos, like I almost always have rice cakes and peanut butter. Now for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, that's gross. Like I know rice cakes
house, you don't always have that. Like that's not all you have, but you always have that available.
That's an option. Like that's one of the options I create ahead of time, because I'm like, when push comes to shove, like it's very rare that I'm like, I'm not in the mood where I don't want to eat that. Now there are some times where I'm like, I just can't stand the thought of it, or like sometimes I get myself to the point where I'm like, I eat this, and then I'm like, actually that doesn't work for me anymore. I've eaten myself out of wanting to have this. So then I also have granola, and I also have these little frozen egg bites, and it's like at any given point, usually those are 3 things that I want for breakfast. If it's given an option, it's like, oh yeah, I could actually go for either, like any of those things. And there's usually one that I'm leaning more towards. So having those 3 things as a standard makes my morning so much easier, because I could get up and be like, I'm going to make like a, eggs Benedict and hand make the hollandaise sauce. And just to let you know, that doesn't happen. Not like that for me. But like,
no, that happens normally if we're together for Christmas on Christmas morning and I'm the one doing the making. Serena's putting together the mimosas normally at that point.
True story. But sometimes we
have our wheelhouses.
We do. And I love cooking, and I like cooking breakfast, but it's just, I'm more of like an egg sandwich person if I'm doing it myself. And sometimes I don't want to make an egg sandwich, and sometimes I don't have time, and sometimes I don't have desire for it. So like having those little things that it's like, okay, I know I'll be supported. Like I know that I'm going to be okay. And that chances are this is going to work for me. And if not, I go into creator mode and I'm like, okay, well, I have, this, I have this, I have this. What else are my options from this if I have the capacity? Right. But when that capacity is not there, just being like, I know there are 3 things in this house that usually I want to eat for breakfast. And the same thing goes for dinner for me too. Like, and for us being on the road, a lot of times, like really quick stuff, like space is a consideration, but just having something super, super quick. So there are always vegan chicken patties in our freezer. And I always have 2 cans of butter beans, because I can whip up a butter bean dish in like 10 minutes and it's delicious. And it's like, having those couple of things that it's like, they might not necessarily be go-tos in the sense of like, this is what I want all the time. This, like, a rice cake isn't going to replace
replace your eggs Benedict.
It's not going to replace my eggs Benedict, and it will nourish me, and it will do the things I need it to. And I won't have to, like, if my head can't wrap itself around eggs Benedict, there's no sense in like like trying to force it, being like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a rice cake and then see how I feel after that. Like, you know, sometimes it's like, all right, I'm gonna eat that rice cake, but I'm gonna have it plain. And then, you know what, maybe then my brain's gonna want something different, or maybe I'll just have another one. Like those options, like having those predetermined things as options has made it so much easier at the beginning, and especially the beginning and end of my day when my capacity usually hasn't mustered itself up, or a
kicked into
capacity all day, and I'm like, I don't want to.
Got
like,
none left. Yeah. Actually, it's interesting, like, because it made me think, like, when you were talking about that, something else that I always have in the house is ingredients to make a smoothie. And a lot of people, when I say that, will think, oh God, she's always got like fresh fruit, like things that are going to go bad or potentially could go bad. I make sure that my smoothie is with kind of shelf stable stuff, or frozen stuff, in order to make sure that I can always have it in and I don't have to worry about it going bad. And so I like my smoothie is super simple. It's water, it's frozen bananas, some frozen raspberries, some sunflower seed butter, because I can't have peanut butter, although we don't know about that. My nut allergies have been shifting recently, so we got to test the peanut butter thing to see whether I can have it. I actually really like sun butter, so I'm good with that. It's a little less easy to get hold of than peanut butter, because I mean peanut butter here is like ubiquitous. It's literally everywhere. There's like freaking like half an aisle full of peanut butter in the US, which you don't get in other places in the world. But I always have some butter in. I always have some ground flaxseed because it's good from a fiber perspective. And then I have a smoothie mix that I purchased. And actually I got this initially when during when COVID first began and we were having trouble getting fresh fruits and vegetables at the store. As a vegan, that's a large part of my diet. And I wanted to make sure I was still getting nutrition, even if I couldn't get the fresh stuff that I really wanted. And the smoothie mix that I have contains lots of fruits and vegetables in it. So I know I'm going to get that nutrition. Blend all of that up. That's basically it. It's literally like 6 ingredients. And there's 6 ingredients I can have in at all times, and I don't have to worry about them going bad or what have you. And the good thing is I know I can have a smoothie if I'm short on time. I can know I have a smoothie if I don't really want to eat or I don't feel like eating, but I know I need some nutrition. I can have a smoothie if I'm in a position where I'm not able to stop and cook or stop and prepare food. So like, for example, I mean, where we are right now, it's 2 p.m. And if you've noticed, I've been drinking from this cup throughout the last 2 episodes. And this has been my smoothie. And I've been sipping on this because it's got a good amount of nutrition. It's going to keep me going so that we can continue recording. And then at the end of it, I will then break and I will actually have something that's pre-prepared already in the refrigerator, so I can heat it up. So I don't have to worry about time when it comes to preparing food there. But the good thing with the smoothie is that it's just one of those things. It's something it's a go-to in the sense of like, in the absence of anything else, like so many times where I've maybe gone out and I've got back late, I don't really have time to cook, I don't really want to cook, I don't really want to eat at that point, I'll have a smoothie before I go to bed because I know I'm getting some nourishment and I know I'm having something that's good for my body. And something's occurred to me as we're talking here, and this is something I'm actually going to do, which is not something that I thought was going to come out of it, but something I realized is going to make this even easier for myself, is that I know I have a lot of different options on hand that I could easily make at the drop of a hat without going to the grocery store. And as we're going through them, like I realized that there were things that, like when Serena says she always has granola in the house. Well, I don't have granola in the house because I don't eat it often enough for it to be something that I'm going to really have in. But I always have the ingredients to make granola, and granola is super easy to make. You basically throw a bunch of stuff in a bowl, mix in some coconut oil and maple syrup, and you bake it, and it's done. And I always have shelf stable milk in because as a British born and bred, mashed potatoes are part of my blood, and I can't survive a month without having them at some point in time. So I always make sure I've got the things to make mashed potatoes. Usually have potatoes in my refrigerator. I keep in the refrigerator because it's tropics and what have you. I know people are going to be like, why are you keeping your potatoes in the fridge if you're watching from the UK?
Keep everything in the fridge in the tropics.
Yes, Exactly. It's like people like from when they go to the UK and we don't have our eggs in the refrigerator. They are just on the aisles and you don't have to keep them in the fridge. And people from the US are like, what are you doing? Anyway, that's less on the differences between the UK and the US. Back onto the not having to come up with the options. But I've realized what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come up with a list of options for breakfast and for dinners that I know I'm always going to have the ingredients for, because sometimes I don't even want to have to think about the different options that I've already made sure I have. And if I've just got to choose from a list, it's way easier than it is remembering the options that I've already made sure that I've got the things for. Like sometimes like because I go through phases.
Menu.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
like the needs menu, but like with the options of things.
Exactly. And I think so. This is the thing. It's like it's so important to have these. If you do the thinking ahead of time, if you do the option creating ahead of time, and you make it as easy as possible for you to access those options, in the moment where you don't have the capacity, it becomes super easy to still be in creative mode and choose from within those options.
I think something like eating is something that we need to do to sustain us. And I feel
really? Oh, that's helpful to know. We should probably put that into the need stuff. Like,
fun fact in case you didn't know. And it's something that like, it's funny. Like you had like children who are like, I want to be an adult. And I was like, it's just figuring out what to eat. Like, that's what it is. Like all day, every day. It's so many choices and like, and it sounds so simple, but it can become a lot to figure out like how you're going to nourish yourself. And when Claire was talking about the garlic, it kind of resonated with me. And you were talking, you always have lemons and limes. I always have lemon juice and lime juice and the garlic. None of that is my ideal. I prefer to use like a fresh lemon or a fresh lime. However, I don't use them enough to keep them and really like, unless there's a specific recipe. But having that lemon juice and lime juice just in the refrigerator now makes it like, okay, what do I want to make? I have this stuff. Oh, I need a lemon. I'd prefer a lemon and I have that lemon juice. I don't have any fresh garlic. I'd prefer fresh garlic, but like Claire, I mean, if you cook, like chopping up garlic can be a pain in the fucking ass. And then you got to peel it and all that stuff. Like it's an option to have fresh garlic, or maybe it's not, but I always have that option to have the not fresh garlic, which then opens up the possibilities of what I'm able to do. Like I'll throw that garlic in ketchup sometimes and make like garlic ketchup just because I want a different flavor. And that gives me an option I wouldn't have had if I wasn't planning ahead, being like, no, I don't need this thing of garlic specifically, but I know in a pinch, that's going to make my life a whole lot easier. And that's going to open up possibilities if I didn't have it.
And it's going to make those options more nourishing. And I don't just mean like as in terms of like nutrition. I mean, from a needs point of view, you're probably going to enjoy a meal way more if it's got some form of garlic in it. I mean, I know Serena. I know her tastes. Like she's going to want garlic in there, like at least 3 cloves.
It says 2
like,
cloves.
Minimum.
Put in 5.
Right? So like, and so if you didn't have that option, you might have it, but it might be like, it's not quite what I want. And it's like, I think it's like doing those things to prep you to get as close as possible to the ideal without really having to put a huge amount of effort in. And like the same thing with me is like, if I'm busy or I'm overwhelmed or I'm low on capacity, I have a go-to outfit that I wear every day. I mean, I know that there was a whole thing about like Steve Jobs used to wear the same thing every day. He had like an entire closet that was just full of jeans and like not polo shirts. What do you call them? The roll neck.
Turtlenecks.
Turtlenecks. Thank you. I was like, I knew there's a neck in there somewhere. So he could use all of his brain power for the other things he had going on in his life. The truth of the matter is most days I don't really care what I'm wearing. The only thing is like, am I cold? Am I warm? What do I need something? And so my go-to is a skirt.
And her little tank top.
And my little tank top.
Usually the purple one.
I have a stack of tank tops in different sizes. I have a whole bunch of different skirts, all exactly the same, sometimes different in color. And literally it's like I put on my underwear, pick one of each, I'm good to go. And I don't have to think about it.
So when it comes to the outfits aspect, like this is something that I have evolved greatly in, both in traveling. I cannot have 5,000 outfits. Like it's not in my lifestyle to be able to do so.
Not unfit Joe in the trailer as well. Like,
right.
like there's a room for Joe and 50,000 outfits in the RV.
Exactly. And over the last couple of years, like I used to be somebody I'd have to like I had a lot of clothes I didn't really wear, but looking back on it, it's interesting, and I don't think I ever really thought about it until this moment now. Like a lot of that was based on the judgment of other people more so. Like I had 5 outfits maybe that I liked, but I had a closet full of things to choose from, and that's I don't have anything to wear. And like Joe would look at me and be like, fuck, you don't have anything to wear. And it's like all these options. And what it was is like, I have 5 things I like to wear, that I want to wear, that I feel good in, that, you know, are all the things. And then I have 15 other outfits that I wear. So that the perception of me is that I, you know, either have a good sense of fashion or that I have a good variety of things. It's what's on the like that outside influence that we kind of like we were talking about in the last episode. It's like the conditioning from the outside says, like, you can't just have 5 outfits. Well, why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is that like if you've come up with those 5 options that you really like, I mean, fuck what anyone else thinks, but you can then, it means that when you're coming to make decisions, you just have to choose one of the 5. Also, like, which are clean, like which are not in the laundry basket. That's also a thing that helps you to narrow down those options. But I think that when you are low on capacity, it can really help for you to just know what options you are choosing between. And when you're in a position where your needs are not well met, that outside judgment can really affect you, because that already taps into unmet needs. If your needs are better met, I mean, the number of people who will see me and will just, all they ever see is me in the same variations of like different color variations of the same outfit, couldn't care less. It was really funny actually. On my trip recently, I spent time with my family, and there was one day where we were going to we went to a water park, and then we went somewhere out afterwards, and I took one of my long maxi dresses, and I put the dress on after the water park before going around, and all of the kids were like, wow. And I'm like, what? And they're like, I don't remember seeing you in a dress. Well, you've seen me in dresses before, but it's just not what I wear on the regular. So it was like this big thing. And it was one of my comfy dresses. That's why I was wearing it. It was because I wanted to be comfy on the back of like going to a water park. But again, it was like, make it easy with I've got go-to comfy dresses, so that I'm like, if I want to wear something different, what are my options of the go-tos? Another example of where this shows up is like, if as somebody who wants to make sure that I am moving and stretching my body on a regular basis, is I have like a couple of different options of movement things in the morning that if I want to, a lot of the time how I work is that if I don't do that thing when I first get up in the morning, if it's not one of the first things I'm doing, I tend to get distracted by other things. My day gets busy and I'm like, I'm off on another tangent. It's like, oh, I was going to do something. Oh shit. That was like 5 hours ago. And so my 3 things is that I'd either do one of the workouts with the workout program that I'm doing. I have an online yoga thing that I pay a subscription for. I do one of those, or I go for a walk. It's one of those 3 things. And so when I get up in the morning, I don't have to come up with the options of like, I could do this, I could do that, I could do the other. The options are already there. I just have to choose which one resonates with where I'm at in that particular day. And it's like, and also with the circumstances on any particular day, like, I mean, living in the tropics in the summer, we have frequent days where you have flyovers of them dropping mosquito chemicals on the entire island to make sure we don't all get eaten alive every day and every night throughout the summer period. I don't want to be going out for a walk when those flyovers are happening. So on the days when those are happening, I already have other options available. So if I'm in a position where actually this one isn't available to me right now. I already have the other two that are right there. I don't have to think too much about it. I just choose the one that resonates with me. So it doesn't have to just be like, oh God, I just want to stay in bed and do nothing. Like that's a day where I'm going to want to get up and do something. I want to move my body, but first thing in the morning, sometimes the old brain takes a little while to kind of get up to speed and function in the way I would like it to. It makes it super easy to make those decisions. And I'm still choosing. Do I want to do this or do I want to do this? I'm still choosing from things that I know work well for me. So I know I'm going to be doing things that meet my needs. It's just which one is going to resonate most in the context of having low capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that many people necessarily think to do this. And I think that's the reason that what ends up happening is that when they are low on capacity, they drop out of creator approach and they drop out of the empowerment ecosystem and they end up finding themselves somewhere else and doing things that are less supportive to their needs than would be ideal. Just saying.
I mean, that's interesting. Like one of the places I really find this to be prevalent with is, I mean, life in general, but with traveling, that's something when I travel for pleasure or whether I'm traveling just for my lifestyle, like having the different options. Like when I go to an area, we've talked about this before. It used to be very like scheduled, like cruise director at 4:00. We're going to take a left out of the hotel and walk 15 steps. Like it was a
synchronized watches.
Yeah, it was a bit much even for me. And then it evolved and it was like, okay, what do we want to do? This is the thing we want to do. Okay, in this area, here are all the options for food. Here are the options for this. And I would pre-do this. So it's like, okay, we're in this area. What do we want to do? Okay, well, we have these options to do right here. This is already pre-done. Or we can be like, ooh, well, what about that? Oh, there's a possibility. Go into creator mode. Can we make this one happen? So it's really been helpful in like traveling in the RV lifestyle. Like we usually have a couple of different options. It's like, okay, well, this is the plan on how to get somewhere. However, if a highway gets closed, like this is another plan that we have. So we can go here, here. Let's see what resonates the most when we're in that moment. And knowing that those are in the back burner, even if we don't need them, it's like, okay, I know that there is at least a couple of things. Because when you have to pivot quickly, sometimes it's like, fuck, what do I do? And this, like, having those predetermined options makes it like, okay, this isn't ideal. And there is this option because this one's obviously not working. So I can do that option. Or like, if there is capacity, it can branch out into creating even more options.
Right. And actually, like you talking about that in terms of the when you're traveling, I think that's something that I've learned to do. And I don't even necessarily, I never even thought about it as being the same thing until you started talking then, is that again, being somebody who is vegan and has allergies, if I'm going somewhere that I've never been before, I will always do some research before I go there to find out like, where are the places I can eat? Where are the places I think I would like to eat based on the things like what, like, it's like, because when you go to a new city, I mean, chances are there's going to be, even for even somebody with my food restrictions, there's going to be a lot of options available. And it's like, well, it's all very well having a lot of options, but actually, how about before I even get there, like say there's 20 options, but I'm only going to be there for 2 days. Maybe what I'll do is I'll pick out the 5 that, having a look at their menus, I think these are probably the 5 that I'm going to want to try out more than anything. This happened recently when I went on, when the trip I did just recently. How this worked out was I'd done all my little pre-checks on like both where we were going to, like I was driving up with a friend of mine. We were staying overnight somewhere and then we were going up to the Orlando area and I knew I was going to be spending time in certain areas and doing certain things. So I did all my little pre-checks and found an amazing bakery, by the way, that does vegan and gluten-free stuff. I was like, and it was so funny because that hadn't come up in my pre-check, like when I did all my pre-work. The day that we were supposed to be leaving, the friend of mine who I was driving up with was running late. And I went onto YouTube and was like looking up like vegan options around this area. And it was on one of the videos that I happened to watch like literally 5 minutes before we left. So I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I nearly missed this. So glad I did the research. Anyway, And what ended up happening was when the place that we went and stopped overnight, because he'd said, like, have you figured out like the options of places? And so as he knew the area, I didn't. So as we were talking, I was like going through some of the options. I was like, this was one of the options. He was like, yeah, that's good, but it's a Friday night. So it might be hard to get a table there. And it's a little bit more kind of, it's a bar kind of thing, could be a little bit noisy and a bit people-y, and neither of us are big, noisy, people-y place people when we've done an entire day of traveling. I mean, we're not that at the best of times. But definitely in that scenario, I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't sound like a great idea. And I was like, what about this one? Or like this one? And we were kind of playing with different ideas. And then all of a sudden he was like, so this probably isn't going to work for you, but I'm kind of feeling there's this place that does these most amazing grilled cheese sandwiches here. And I kind of feel like all I really want is a grilled cheese sandwich. So like, I'm happy for us to go and pick you up something somewhere else, but I think that's the place that I'm going to go. And I was like, is it this one by any chance? And he was like, yeah, why? And I'm like, they actually do a vegan grilled cheese sandwich option. And he was I was like, I'm good with that. And he was like, sure. And because I already knew that was an option that could work for me, when he was like, oh, this is what I'm going to go for. So the funny thing is, we get there and they have a vegan option, which is like vegan. It's got some vegan meat in there, vegan cheese, obviously. It's got some vegan meat in there and other bits and pieces. And then they also have a truffle grilled cheese option, which is like mushrooms and truffle oil and cheese and everything. And I'm like, if you know me, mushrooms and truffles and things, love it so good, so good. And so I was like, I wonder if there's a way they could kind of mix those together. And so I go in and I was like, could you make a vegan version of the truffle one? And they were like, well, we can. The only problem is that the vegan meat and the vegan cheese is already in together, kind of thing. So it would have to have vegan meat in it. So I'm like, oh, well, okay then. So that's what I ended up having. And over here, if you're in the US listening to this won't be a surprise to you. If you're from other places in the world, like grilled cheese in this country comes almost automatically with soup. Like it's a grilled cheese and soup option. Normally there's like, and the idea is you dip the grilled cheese in the soup as you kind of eat it. That's not a thing where I'm from. Like you have grilled cheese, you have soup. Those two aren't automatic bedfellows. In fact, when I was like, what do you mean grilled cheese and soup? So especially a lot of the time, it's tomato soup, exactly. Now, the tomato soup at this place had dairy in it, so it wasn't an option. So they did a mushroom bisque, and I was like, and I'm not really, I'm like, I will eat soup, and there are certain soups I'm like, they're okay. I'm not like, there are some people like, oh my God, I love soup. Any kind of soup. Give me soup. I spent half my life eating soup going, I feel like I'm just filled with liquid now, which is ironic for somebody who has as many smoothies as I do, because kind of the same thing. It's just a different version of it. I was like, okay, I'll have the mushroom bisque with it, because it was the one that was available. I tell you, this mushroom bisque was to die for. Like, I still am craving going back and having that grilled cheese with that soup. The soup was what made it. It was amazing. But because I'd already come up with the options ahead of time, I came up with the ones that I thought would be the preferable ones. But then when somebody else came in and went, I kind of feel like this, I'm like, oh, that's on my option list. Yeah, that works for me. Let's do that. It made the entire process. Because if I had gone after an entire day of traveling up to a new area where I didn't know anything, and then I had to find places that had vegan options available, and then had vegan options that I actually wanted to eat and were within the price bracket I wanted and were not too people-y and busy. I mean, I would have been like, can I get a smoothie from somewhere, please? Like, this all feels like a bit much for me.
Well, and that's like, as you're saying it, I actually was in this situation yesterday where had I taken an opportunity of capacity, I could have made my day gone a little bit smoother than actually happened. And it was kind of a perfect storm. And I don't know that this really was would have worked out.
Would have made all the difference.
Right. However, it kind of would have, like, looking back at it. So I had plans, we were supposed to go tubing with my best friend and our godson. And there was a list of things we wanted to do this summer. Tubing was one of them. So we already did have kind of a list of options, but it wasn't, I think the issue with it is the list of options was just a list of things we wanted to do. We hadn't considered them as options, why they're options, like when they would be options for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we were supposed to go tubing and it didn't work out. And we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. Joe and I were here, and they are in a different state, the next state over, but like an hour and a half away. So we're trying to figure it out. I'm like, we should just get on the road and like, we'll figure it out on the way. And then the capacity on the other end was like, I just need you to be here. So like, you know, I can't figure this out. So we're trying to kind of figure it out, but none of us have the capacity to figure out what to do because we're having to pivot quickly. And there's a child involved who doesn't necessarily understand, like,
Yeah.
you know, there's going to be a pivot. It's going to take a minute. So we get to her house and then we're there for like another 2 hours, like kind of stressfully trying to piecemeal a thing to like a
day
plan
together.
a day together because we didn't really have many, you know, options laid out for us ahead of time. So we're trying to find all the options in this moment. Then we're getting stressed. And then we're like, you know, all the plans had a knock-on effect because of that. Then we haven't eaten lunch because now we're trying to plan. So then it's like, well, what do we do for lunch? And then we go there and the sandwich area had closed down, which is what we were doing for lunch. Then it's like, okay, well, we don't have any other options. So now we have to figure out more options in this moment. And had we just like at the beginning of the summer been like, these are the options, not just to listen, being like, and if we go here, we can do this. Like that would have made it so much better to be like, okay, this one isn't working, but we already have this planned out. Like one of the things is let's go into Boston. And I'm like, we don't have a plan. Like, that would be great with a plan. But if we only go in there with like, and in this specific, like we're always up for an adventure, but going in with a loose, like we could do this, we could do this, we could do this as not necessarily like they were all options. However, there was nothing that was done. It was just, it was throwing the spaghetti. Like there's so much nuance in this because as I'm saying it, I'm like, it kind of counteracts what we're saying. But however, like you have to create options with intentionality, I think, rather than just.
Well, it's like the option isn't just an idea. It's more, it's more than that. It's also like, what is it going to take to do that? Like, it's like, for example, it's like saying, oh, there's all these ideas of things I want to do in this city, but each of them are 3 hours apart from each other. And we've only got 6 hours in the city. Like it's like, that's why but if you know what the options are and you can go, okay, we've got these 5 different options and we can't do them all. What is the option we want to do most? And then we can fix everything else around that. I think the other thing that really is important when it comes to this thing is to know yourself and to know the things that you are going to need at the times where you might be low on capacity. So a great example of this is I'm somebody who I like to have something sweet to finish off a meal, even if that's literally just a bite of something, like a single bite of something. A lot of the times will do me. And that could be, it could be a couple of grapes. It could be a bite of some chocolate. I have these sun buttercups I get from a store that I tend to have in good supply because it's literally a sun buttercup. That's me. A lot of the time that's me good. Like I'll make a lot of the time I'll do sun butter stuffed dates and put them in the freezer. And those are, again, a nice, quick and easy. That will be something sweet. And when it came to like doing the traveling thing, I knew that when I was looking for options of things, I knew I was going to need options of sweet things, like, because that was something I was going to need as part of, not need, it's not like, oh my God, I'm like going to keel over, but it was something that met my needs. And not having that, it could leave me feeling a little bit like, meh, I don't know. And what that meant was that before I got there, I knew in all of the areas where were the things that had an option for vegans when it came to sweet things. And it was funny because there was one of the areas I went to where there was somewhere that did vegan ice cream. There was somewhere that did a vegan donut. There was some where they had the vegan and gluten-free bakery that I went to. And it's like, and it meant that when I got there, I'm like, I know I want something sweet. Which one of these things do I want? And so that's what I did. And before I even got there, I did a stop along the way and I picked up some of the sun buttercups And I made sure I had some of those at the house so that even if there were no other options available to me, I still had an option that would work for me. And like making sure that you understand yourself. And like Serena's saying, like knowing that she needs some breakfast in the morning, something in her system. So she makes sure she has options. Like some people don't have breakfast. So it's not important for you to have options for breakfast because you don't eat it. That's okay. In which case you don't probably need to come up with as many options that are breakfast friendly, maybe having one. So if you feel like on a particular day you need something, you've got it. But it's like knowing yourself, knowing your needs and knowing the ways of meeting the needs that work for you specifically, and ensuring that you plan for options that are specifically going to meet your needs. That's the key here. It's not just, oh, I've got to think of every eventuality ahead of time and I've got to make sure I've got options for every eventuality, because quite honestly, that feels overwhelming and exhausting. And I'm never going to want to do that. But I know myself well enough to know that I always have a bar of chocolate of some description in the fridge. I always have grapes or some kind of fruit in the fridge. I always have almost always have some buttercups in the fridge. I did eat a few too many a couple of weeks ago and was out for about a week. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with that some buttercups in the fridge. So I like whenever I go, I always stock up on plenty. So I have, and then I had a friend of mine who came down and visited last week and they bought a bunch down for me, which was super sweet because you can't get them locally. Unfortunately, they left them in the trunk of their car in the Florida heat. Where vodka came from. That's not on my list of options I need to have available. So I now have clumps of some butter chocolatey goodness that I can take a knife to and carve out a little bit and have a little mouthful of that. Makes for a very interesting eating experience. But it's like knowing these things about yourself, knowing you want to do some movement at some point during the day, knowing that you're going to want to make sure you have a breakfast, knowing you want to make sure that you're going to have dinner, knowing that you're going to want to make sure that you have a way of unwinding in the evening and making sure that you have a go-to, like couple of go-to TV programs you can choose between, or a book you want to read, or a card game you want to play, whatever it is. Like knowing yourself and your needs is what enables you to preempt those choices. So in the times that you have low or no capacity, you can still make choices because you've already made sure you've got the options available to you. A little like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was thinking I feel like my last example was a little bit convoluted just because I was trying to piece it together in my mind. And like I said, we had like a kind of to-do list for the summer, but it was completely surface. Like take a trip to Boston. You ever been to Boston? That means so many fucking different things. And we had kind of been like noodling, like, oh, it could be this, it could be this. At the beginning of the summer, like when there was more capacity and more time and more space to do things, we could have been like, all right, what would Boston look like? You know, what could we do? So that there was a list of not just these kind of surface ideas. Like we knew this was something we wanted to do. When we had the capacity, if we had figured it out, like it would have been like, oh yeah, we know these are the things. Like, let's do this, rather than being like, oh, would this work? What would this look like? What, like, you know, you have this one tiny option that we knew, like you take the singular option and know that that is not the totality of it. Like planning for what else was needed. It's not even an option.
It's an idea. Like it's an idea at that point. Like,
yes.
It's like at that point, it's an idea, but that idea isn't fully formed yet. And the thing about it is, if the thing that you have on your list requires you to make several other decisions in order for it to be viable, you don't really have an option yet. You have an idea of which you can then create options that will solidify what that idea looks like. And I think that's the piece that's missing, is like when you get very surface level or very big picture, it's like you've got a bunch of ideas of things you can do, but it's only when you start to zoom into them and go, okay, what are the options that go with this idea that work for me and work for everybody else who's involved. And that's when you get to the options, because you could have said, okay, Boston looks like, I'm about to show my lack of knowledge of Boston right now. Let's say it was London. Okay, this goes something I actually know, so I don't completely.
I was like, oh, what kind of Boston trip are we taking? This should be interesting.
Well, I'm like, is the Red Sox Boston? Is that Boston?
I feel like I haven't done you right as my best friend that you don't know that wholeheartedly, but maybe it's a good thing because there was a certain time in my life that you would have you would have known Boston Red Sox were like the team.
I thought so. I didn't want to say it with certainty, and then you go, "That's not a thing, Claire," because that could have easily happened as well. My knowledge of things gets mashed together. But like, you could have gone to a Red Sox game, and you could have gone and had a hot dog, or you could have gone. I have no idea. Like, you could go to like an amusement park. Like, I don't know if there's one of those in Boston. You could go and do museums. You could go and do. You could go and. Like,
do a culinary adventure.
Yeah, like, exactly. It's like, what are we trying to do? Like, when I think about like going to, like I said, use London as an example, where like you could go to the theatre, go to a musical, or you could go and say, oh, we want to eat, like, because there's great food in London, so we're going to do a little foodie based trip. You could go to the markets, you could go to the museums, you could go, like, if you're doing something, if I'm planning to do something with my other best friend and their child, the options are going to be very different if it's if it's just the two of us versus if I'm on my own. If I'm on my own, I'm going salsa dancing when I'm in London, because that's something I don't get to do very often, and it's got a great salsa scene. I'm not going to do that with them because they don't salsa dance. So it's it's creating this idea, these list of the idea of going to London is great, but you can't execute that as that's an option, not an option that you can take action on, other than you stand in the middle of London town and go, well, now what? Like, that's not an option. That's just a starting place for an option.
And like, I can hear it in my head, somebody going like, well, you're there and then you have all the options. Like, and we just got off of like, many times the more like you want to be able to give yourself additional options between, like, it doesn't have to look like this or that. However, we're talking about when you don't have that capacity, like, that can put like a damper on your trip, because you'll stand there for 2 hours and then you're frustrated, then you're hungry, and then you're looking at time, and the time's, ticking away, and you're like, I'm still not doing the thing, and there's too many things. I want to have food, and I want to go to a museum, and I want to do this, but there's like no context for it. Like, doing that preemptively before you're in that moment means you're going to have more time enjoying the moment that you're actually there.
Well, and the other thing is there is always a backup option, which I'm going to come back to in a minute. Like, when it comes to like travel and doing things in that respect, there's a backup option, and it's a backup option that it's not actually a backup option. It can be a backup option. It's actually normally mine and Serena's first choice in a lot of situations, but we'll come to that in a second. The point I want to make, well, that's part of it. Think about why you're wanting to do it, because like, yeah, you can go to London and spend an entire day in London. But the reason you want to go to London normally is because there are things in London you want to do. It's not just because you want to go into the city. You're going to London because London is like, you've got the West End that you don't have anywhere else. I want to go to London because there are salsa clubs there that you just don't get anywhere else. There are food experiences that you don't get anywhere else. Like, you're not just going there because you want to go there. You're going there because going there involves, or has the option to, like, involves things that you want to do. So if all you want to do is go and say, I've been to London, you can go to the middle of Trafalgar Square and go, check, done. Like, interestingly enough, I was talking to a friend of mine recently who went to London, and they were like, they were reflecting that there were certain things about London that they noticed. And I was like, that's because you went and did tourist London, not because you actually experienced London. Like, if you want to go and experience some of the different cultures that there are in London, you can have a very different trip than if you are going to do the tourist stuff. I remember when I was in India, like, I was like, if I see another fort or another palace, I'm going to be like, ugh. Not because I didn't enjoy them, because I did, because I went and did them. But I got to a certain point where I'm like, I want to do things that are different to what everybody else is doing. I want to experience different experiences that you can only get in this particular place. Like, for example, in Udaipur, like, horse riding is a big thing. That wasn't a big thing in the other places. So I wanted to do that there because that was a reason for being there. So the reason that just going there isn't enough is because normally there's a reason you want to go there. And the reason you want to go there is the options. It's just you haven't got clear on what those options are, which is why if you can get clear on those options ahead of time, you can then pick which of those options resonates most. Where it's like, here are all the things I really want to do in this city. And here's the one that resonates with where my capacity is, where my desire is, where my needs are at today, that's going to speak to me most. And then if I could do one or two of those others, great. Now, as I said, there is always a backup option. And as I said, for some people, it's your first choice. And that is, you can choose to have an adventure. And when I say you choose to have an adventure, the option is that you just go and experience and see where things take you. This is something Serena and I do on the regular, where we don't make plans for the day. We don't create options, because what we do is we go and we see what we feel in the moment. And it's like, what do we want to do right now? Actually, I'm hungry. Okay, let's find somewhere to go food. Where are we? What food options are close by here? We've got this one, this one, this one. We're going to do that one. So there is a way of doing this. If you don't have particular needs that need to be met, and you're not trying to create certain, like, there aren't certain outcomes that you want out of something. If you have a certain outcome that you that you want, or you don't have, or there are certain needs that need to be met, this is not necessarily the best way of doing it, because it can go any which way, and normally does. And that's part of the fun of it. And it can be really really nourishing and really fulfilling to do that. And if you have certain requirements, this isn't going to be it.
Well, and because when it comes to an adventure, there have been days that we're like, we're going on an adventure, and it's like, shit, we could have written a book about that day. And then there's other days where, like, we're going out on an adventure, and it's like, all right, we adventure. Like,
just
there was nothing
about.
Yeah, there was nothing super adventurous or like notable. But in those cases, usually it's like, well, I just want to spend time with you. I don't want to have to be like doing anything. So like, that's the point of it. But like, I do not want to hear about people being like, oh, we're going on an adventure, and using that as an excuse, because you will. If you are not in that space, you will shoot yourself in the foot with that, because like, you're going to have feelings about things. And if it's like, if you want it to go a certain way, an adventure is not that is not what you're looking for, as much as you think it might make it easier in the moment to be like, oh, I'm on an adventure. And like, sometimes I do that when things get really fucked up. I'm like, it's an adventure. We're not really talking about that. We're talking about going out with the purpose to be like, let's see where it takes us. Let's just go where the wind blows. And sometimes you get blown into like some weird shit, and you're like, oh
yes,
too much adventuring for me. Like, and because there's no preconceived notions or predetermined, destination of the journey or outcome, you're like, okay, well, that was interesting. No, not to go that way again. And you keep on moseying along. But I just don't want people to be like, oh, well, the adventure is the option, and that sounds easier, so that means I can just go and say I'm having an adventure. But you have to be in the mindset for an adventure.
Well, and if you're doing an adventure, that's saying, I'm not going to come up with the options, and I'm not going to make a choice about like the things that we're going to create today, because I'm open to it looking any which way, and I'm okay with it looking any which way.
It's not avoiding, it's not masking. It's like, you're not avoiding making the options, you're not avoiding doing the work for it. You're embracing and choosing to be solidly in the moment, in that moment, as that moment is.
And in the unknown. I mean, and there are times that we've said, Serena, like, there are times we've gone on an adventure and we're like, you couldn't write this shit. Nobody would believe you. Like, and then there are
27
other times,
hours later, we're like, we haven't stopped.
27 and a half. Let's get it right. And there are other days where we go on an adventure and all we do is wander around chatting. Like, that's literally it. And you need to be okay with that, either one of those and any other. And because if you're not like going, here are my options and here's what we're going to do. And like, if at any point you're like, okay, now we need something. Now it's like, okay, at that point you have to come up with your options, like food. I mean, with us, it's different because obviously there are so many certain places I can eat. But if you don't have those kind of restrictions, you're like, okay, we're just going to eat at the first place we come across, knowing that could be 5-star Michelin restaurant and it could be a crapshoot. Not that that's the type of restaurant, but like, it could be the worst restaurant you've ever eaten in, and that can be an adventure and you can get something out. So this is why I'm saying is like there are certain, when you're doing that, it's because you are open to every single possibility and okay with every single possibility. And normally what makes that work is when you're with somebody where you're going to have a good time no matter what happens. That's why it works for us.
And
we'll make it fun no matter what.
Absolutely. And we're on the same page with it, which is important too, because there have been times I'm usually down for an adventure and being like, all right, let's just see where it takes us. There's some times where my mind is like, no, this is the outcome I want. So I'm going to plan it a little bit more. But just because I'm up for an adventure does not mean that everybody is up for an adventure. And if I'm just like, let's just go see what happens, but they have something in their head that they haven't said, that's going to go sideways too. Like when Claire and I do, or when Joe and I do an adventure, it's like, we know what we're signing up for. We know we're signing up for potentially some frustrations of like, we literally can't find a place to eat. Like, you know, there are those potential things, because I'm just thinking of the situation I was in yesterday. If I had been like, all right, let's go on an adventure, I know that my best friend had a goal or, you know, an outcome in mind, it wouldn't have worked as much as we would have loved it. We might have made it work, but would it have actually worked? Probably not.
And a lot of people's needs would have been compromised along the way. Like it's okay for you to have
in
an
many
adventure
ways.
if you don't have children who need to eat at certain times and have certain requirements in terms of their food. Like that's a lot easier. But if we end up like, okay, let's just go to the corner store and get a bag of chips and we'll sit and eat that as we'll sit and eat that as we're walking. We'll eat those as we're walking around. Like that's okay for us. And so it's really important. Like if you have dependence, it can change what you're doing things. The other thing is like, if you do have dependence, is to create options for your dependents. So again, knowing them and knowing what their needs are and coming up with things ahead of time so that at any point in time when something comes up, you can be like, okay, we got this and this, which and it makes those situations much easier to navigate and easier to handle as well. Okay, we went longer than we expected to. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to be well under the hour. This is cool. And then all of a sudden, 2 more things get said, and I'm like, oh, that makes me think of this. Oh, we need to include this. So we went longer than expected, but here we are. We thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you for being here. And I've already said that, so I'm not going to say it again. Between now and then, remember to stay safe, take care of yourself, and continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, to stay in creator mode when you're low on capacity, create the options for yourself ahead of time.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.